You know what setting has so much potential for a good game? World War One. But second that would be like Gladiators. Think about it. We explore so much of Roman culture and its military, but we don't discuss one of the cooler parts of Roman society. Gladiatorial fights. The ancient equivalent of hype moments in aura farming. Luckily, someone else thought so too. We Who Are About to Die is a physics-based action roguelike. Now I know what you're thinking. That sounds like a real janky mess. And you're half right. Right in that's janky, wrong in that's a mess. This is a fact. Methodical jank. So let me talk about it. Story. You play as the Aspire, some poor schmuck forced to fight in the arena, for a number of reasons. From the blacksmith apprentice trying to support their master, some random ass civilian who's just bored as hell, or a disgraced politician who's probably here for being a sex pest. There are a number of other backstories you can play, and they all share one commonality. They each start with a random amount of modifiers that have their ups and downs, like the blacksmith apprentice, who by default will always repair the inventory, but at the expense of not being able to get money by selling, or my personal favorite, the criminal, where you get more money on betting, but you lose out on fame and favor. Speaking of the patrons, let's talk about the world building, which takes notes from Bannerlord, i.e., they make a bunch of pseudocultures to justify their gladiatorial drip, which I don't mind. The shit looks great. You remember the patrons earlier? Yeah, there's 4 of them. There's Jordis, the one that upgrades your shops and inventory for free. Valaris, who's got Alora, who boosts your relations with other patrons, and Mazda. Practically useless, because Jordis exists. You know, despite the lack of tangible story, it makes up for in world building, which, unfortunately, it's kind of a shame. I really don't care about the world all that much. But you know what I care about more? The gameplay. Surprisingly, with a title that contains the word die, you die a lot. Shocking. I know. So how do you avoid that? Well, you up your stats and your gear through the character menu and shop respectively. Problem. You're broke as shit. And you lack any bitches. Basically, you're the high school nerd getting shoved into lockers, but instead of lockers, your ass is getting shoved into the forever box. How do you fix this? By going into the arena. There are 3 or 4 options, ranging from 1v1s, many v many, 1v many, survival, pit fights, and suicide run any % world record. Before you enter a fight, consider making bets on yourself, which are side objectives you can take to potentially get a bigger money reward. Heavy emphasis on the word potentially, because you may get something like get X amount of kills or do Y amount of damage, or it could be basically impossible, like having a negative % favor with the crowd. And, unless you have a modifier reducing the fame generation, you might as well not try with those bets. Now that we explained bets, we can get into the actual game. You know, which is funny because, like, I've taken this whole paragraph just to get to the actual game. Like I said earlier, this game is physics-based. That means damage depends on how fast you can swing your weapon or where you hit your opponent with the weapon. You can swing the weapon in a number of ways, like swinging it at an up angle or a down angle. You can swing overhead, or with some weapons, with a thrust. The system is very intricate and varied. So, believe it or not, hitting your opponent with the shaft of the weapon won't do as much as hitting it with the actual weapon. Speaking of which, there's quite a handful of them. You have your basic sword, axe, and mace, but they can be 1- or 2-handed. You also have spears and polearms too. Each weapon can have various attributes to them, like the ability to dismember a person, guaranteed, or being unwieldy, more likely to be disarmed. These weapons can also be linked to certain cultures, which can affect certain traits, which, on top of background modifiers, specifically change how you play a run. It could be things like being a giant, which gives you more health and makes you physically bigger than normal, or downright crippling, like having 1 arm and not being able to wear a chest piece. Because fuck you, that's why. I talked a lot about the offensive capabilities. So what about the defense? Unfortunately for you, defense fucking sucks. The most consistent way is to block with the shield. You know, that's cool and all, but what if you don't want to use a shield? Or can't use a shield? Well, good luck. Yes, you can block with your weapon, but most of the time, they'll probably just hit over your weapon. You can also dodge, but that more feels like a step back than an actual dodge. And for no reason sometimes, you can just step into the loving embrace of the enemy's sword to fucking kill you. Criticism. Despite my love for the game, there are still a few issues with the game. Namely, it is still in early access, which is a put off for a lot of people. But wait, unlike some other indie games, the updates are at a decent pace, and the next update should be the full release. Even if the game stops updating for some reason, the game is still in a good state, even if it's early access. Speaking of which, bugs. They happen, but when they do, they are more entertaining than frustrating. One time, I got pretty far into a criminal background run, but for some reason, my arms would just stop working. They would basically flail around. It didn't matter what happened, I would immediately lose all function in my arms the moment I entered the arena. But I could still flail them around and kill people like that. It was pretty entertaining for all things considered. And my only regret is that I didn't record it. There are other physics-breaking bugs like bodies just flying around, but this game is pretty stable, at least compared to the AAA AI slop that's being released nowadays. This game, despite being jank as hell, is still fun. Well, a lot more fun than most slop you find on Steam. I give it an arbitrary number out of 10. The fun mainly comes from the stupid shit that happens in the game. That's all I had for this video. I'll probably just end the video mid-sentence